Hello and welcome to the Kessel Rundown podcast. My name is Hunter,
I'm Ethan.
and today we are here to discuss episodes 3 and 4 of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Let's
Let's get
go.
into it. Yeah, let's go. Let's get into it. First off, let's just start by addressing the elephant in the room. Ethan is back from his honeymoon, so he is gonna jump fully into Star Wars. No wife, nothing like that. Just me, just him talking about Star Wars 24/7, and I'm excited for it.
One of the reasons we're able to do this is because she's out of the house for the night. So or for the evening. So we're excited. I kind of sneak watched episode 4 because we on the honeymoon we actually watched episodes 1 through 3 together, like in one sitting. That's how we spent an entire morning in Jamaica. We sat there for 2 hours and watched Kenobi. It was everything a man could want. It was awesome, and she actually, like, surprisingly, she really liked it.
It's good. It's good.
So and she watched Mandalorian with me, but nothing else really. She's not super into the all the minutia. Like, she doesn't watch Clone Wars or
Hmm.
anything like that. But we're supposed to watch episode 4 together, but it came out at like 2 a.m., so we were asleep, and then I couldn't wait. So, like, after she left for work, we have like she leaves work at like 7:45, and I leave at like 8:45. So I had a little gap, and I just sat down and watched it without her.
Oh, that's how
And
you watched it?
yeah, by myself, and at 8 a.m. yesterday, I just couldn't wait. And but then we rewatched it, and so
Hmm.
I got to see her
Did you
reaction,
tell
which is
her
fun.
that you rewatched it, or did you like fake
Yes, I
act?
did.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, it was fine.
Well,
I would rather just like not. I didn't want to like fake react, So
hmm.
it was good. She wasn't too upset. She was just like, "Well, can you still please watch it with me?" I was like, "Of course. I need to rewatch it like 3 more times."
I
So
need to break down everything that happened, especially in this episode. Got a lot of stuff to break down. And
right.
sorry if I sound a little distracted right now. I just looked to my left, and my cat is laying on his back with his feet stretched out like a human person. And I took a picture of it, and I'll put a picture on screen, but this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But we've seen weirder things in episode 4 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. But
We
before we
saw
get to
some
episode
weird
4,
stuff. We
oh, we
saw some
did.
weird stuff.
Yeah, we did. But before we talk about that, let's just run down quickly episode 3. If you want to start that off, what did you like about episode 3? What were the high points?
Yeah, so honestly, one of the biggest television moments that Star Wars has had since Disney's takeover. You think about Mandalorian premiere, and then Boba Fett's introduction to the Mandalorian, and then like the season finale of season 2 with Luke.
Hmm.
Honestly, beyond that, and maybe a couple moments in Boba, Star Wars hasn't had like the big screen moment in a while. And this felt like something more like out of a movie theater, just watching Vader show up on Mampuzo. It was like a horror movie,
Yeah.
stalking the town, breaking that dude's neck, dragging innocent people behind him, like coaxing Obi-Wan out. It was so true to who peak Vader is in most people's minds. I really enjoyed it. I was scared. I was like, what's gonna happen? And we know that Obi-Wan survives, but it was still scary, which is a mark of a really good show. That's what we talked about last episode. Is
Hmm.
the mark of a good show is when you know the outcome, like Rogue One, and it still entertains you and still keeps you on your toes. And episode 3 was terrifying. I thought that was the most beautiful depiction of Obi-Wan as being scared, as being he feels like he's out of his element. I have never seen a man so scared on my TV before.
Yeah,
I it was
you did
like
great.
he was his eyes told so much more than any of his
Hmm.
lines could. He was scared to turn on his lightsaber, Hunter. Like he was terrified
Yeah.
to even face Vader. He was running away with no shame. His first thought when him and Leia earlier in the episode arrive in Manpuso, one of those.
I
The
think it's the Mapuza, just Mapuza.
Mapusa.
Oh,
Oh, Mapuzo. Okay.
yeah,
Well, when they
Mapuzo.
arrive
Yeah,
when they arrive to the hills of California, is what it looked like.
that. Yeah.
They he automatically thinks, okay, we got to come up with a cover story. Not like we'll fight our way out of this. Not if anything goes bad, I'll protect you. It's like you better stick to your lines because we're in danger. Just a little
Hmm.
bit different than like Prime Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is I think we both love that. We love the broken PTSD riddled Obi-Wan that has to deal with the sins of his past. That is much more compelling storytelling than like seeing a redux of the Revenge of the Sith fight. Like, I don't want that. I've already seen that. It can't be done better. So seeing
Exactly.
Obi-Wan
Yeah.
terrified, like, quote, fighting Vader, unquote, but like not really, kind of just running away and trying to save himself.
I
That
agree.
he's he asks that, what have you become? And Christensen, or the computer engineered voice of James Earl Jones, whoever was reading those lines, is like, I am what you made me. And I
Hmm.
think that is a summation of this whole show, is Kenobi grappling with his failure of Anakin, and Vader, who is always, he's using hatred as his fuel. He hates Obi-Wan, and he thinks
Hmm.
that, yeah, it is Obi-Wan's fault that I'm like this, that I lost Padme, that I'm
Yeah.
always in pain. And so you see that playing out. And it was, I love the fight. I loved that Vader wanted to torture him instead of just kill him. I thought that was realistic in terms of like who Vader is in the comics, and what motivates him. I think he's
I
probably
agree.
dreamt of that moment for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And he was disappointed at how weak Obi-Wan was, and I thought that was a really cool
Yeah, and
twist.
that's why ultimately he let him live. It was disappointing for Vader to see his master just give up so easily. He wants another fight. He wants another
Right.
Mustafar, and I believe he's gonna get it in Episode 6 or whenever they rematch. But we'll see.
We'll
And
see.
also
Yeah.
talking about a broken Obi-Wan. I think I can speak for myself here, but I can hopefully speak for you too. The Last Jedi. I think the most intriguing part of that movie was Luke, and Luke dealing with his past and what he's done, and seeing a broken Jedi, and it's being done better in Obi-Wan than it was in The Last Jedi. But I love seeing this idea of a broken Jedi Master, um, slowly getting coming back to realization, his roots. But in Episode 3, of course, we see Obi-Wan completely like at his lowest, broken down and beaten.
Yeah.
Something that I wish we saw a little bit more of in The Last Jedi. But Obi-Wan is a 6-hour show compared to The Last Jedi, which is like a 2 hour and 30 minute. You can't really have Luke have a full character arc in one movie. But yeah, I love Obi-Wan like this. As bad as it is to say that, it's good storytelling, and it's like I said, it's the lowest part in the story, which sets up episodes 4, 5, and 6 to be his redemption, his return to a Jedi Master.
Yeah. And I think the reason that it works is because we know what at the end of this, he's going to be the old and wise, but still got moves Obi-Wan in Rebels when he defeats Maul. And he's going
Hmm.
to be the, full of wisdom, can still fight, still very in tune with the Force, Alec Guinness version in New Hope. So
Hmm. Yeah.
that's him in 10 years, right? So we know that he's not going to stay broken forever, and that's why the show is great for me, because I can tell this is going to end, and like, whether that's episode 4, 5, or 6 of Kenobi, or like if there's a second season, which we'll talk about later, it we'll see him regain his confidence. We'll see him regain his form, lightsaber fighting, force use, and hopefully get in tune with Qui-Gon, commune with the Force. And I just, that makes it hopeful, but also realistic. Like, yeah, of course, like, if you haven't done something for 10 years, you're not going to be good at it the first time you do it.
Hmm.
No matter how good you were before, unless it's like we said earlier, like riding a bike. That's But it takes a few minutes for you to get back to normal. When you first ride a bike for the first time, like 8 years, the
Hmm.
first like couple of minutes, you're like barely staying upright, and then once you remember the muscle memory of, oh, this is how I stay balanced, then you're fine. But it's not, you get on the bike and you're totally fine as soon as you get on it. It's So I speak from personal experience of almost wrecking a bike in a parking lot when I first got to college, and thought, I can ride a bike around. I haven't ridden one since I was 11 years old. But anyways,
Awesome.
he's true to form. He's still Obi-Wan. He's still
Hmm.
got wit. He can still think up a story relatively quickly, like he does
Hmm.
on Freck's ship. But he's not sharp as he was before. He's not. you know, doing force flips and, battling Grievous. And that's just not him right now. And that's
Yeah.
okay.
See, he's Obi-Wan, but he doesn't realize that he's Obi-Wan. He calls himself Ben, and at the end of the series, I believe he will believe in himself that he is Obi-Wan. So I can't wait for that. Also, speaking of Freck, man, the only thing that guy was missing was just a MAGA hat, and then it would have been like, dude,
That is Waller, Texas, right there.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's a deep cut. No, as soon as I saw that hand painted Imperial insignia on the back of his truck, that's just the same thing as a "Don't tread on me" sticker. Like
Right.
it's, I was like, oh man, here we go. Then he was like, nothing wrong with a little order. Like, man, you cannot get any worse than this mole man or whatever he was.
Well, and that's he was literally a mole in both
Yeah.
senses of the word, right? He was an informer. He was an informant for the Empire. I mean, when he
And
shows up, you're like, I would not trust this guy.
yeah, all I can think
Um,
of is George Lucas being like, it's like poetry. It rhymes, you know? It everything goes hand in hand. He's a mole for a reason. I like that. I like that. That's harkening back to George Lucas Star Wars.
what film did he say that? Like, what behind the scenes did he say that in?
I think it was behind the scenes of episode one. I think
What
I have to
rhymed?
look that up. Oh gosh, I don't remember. I just the only clip I really remember from that behind the scenes DVD discussion was Jar Jar's the key to all this. If Jar Jar doesn't work, nothing works. And I think I quote Jar Jar's the key to all this maybe once a week.
Yeah, you do. I can
Yeah.
confirm. Yes. When they're trying out Anakin's look and they give him like the Mad
Oh,
Max
oh
look with the
yeah.
mohawk, and he's like, "That's a little much."
Yeah, didn't they like
um,
shave his head with the
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But
Man, that's
so
funny.
we're talking about Freck. Some important things happen on the transport. Obviously, we get the whole he accidentally calls her Leia and whatever, which leads to a really beautiful moment when he's like, when I look in Leia's eyes, or when I look in Luma's eyes, I see her mother Leia, or her
Mhm.
whatever he says. I don't know. I see her mother's face, which is obviously a callback to Padme. And then Leia is smart, and she's like, "Did you know my real mother? Are you my dad?" And
He says I wish I
uh,
was.
yeah, I wish I could say I was, which can be taken in the sense that it's supposed to be taken, which is,
Hmm.
wow, how sweet. He really cares for Leia and he wishes that she could have grown up with parents. Or you could be like, did he have it out for Padme?
Maybe there was an ulterior motive on Mustafar. Who knows?
There was the original script of the prequels. Wasn't there a pretty big love triangle dynamic between Padme and Skywalker and Kenobi? That's what I've heard. So
There was. I've never heard that. That
yeah,
sounds interesting, man. I have to look that up. No, that sounds pretty cool. I like that idea. Huh.
but
I have
anyways,
to look that
I
up. Yeah.
we did get, we in that exchange we get some key like insight into the Jedi Order, and this kind of bleeds into episode 4, because a lot of the show is about how the scars that the Jedi have left behind, and whether that's like Order 66 and that trauma, or it's like being in the Order itself. Obi-Wan had to forgo all attachments. He fell in love with Satine and he couldn't do anything about it, and then he had to watch her die and move on. Like, he was a general, right? Couldn't
Hmm.
dwell on it. Um,
Yeah, he was in the middle of
it-
a war. He couldn't stop.
right. He cared for Padme as a friend, and he cared for Anakin as a brother, and
Hmm.
both of them essentially died. Anakin died and
Anakin's
became Vader,
yeah,
right?
yeah. He's
So,
dead.
but in this exchange, he reveals, we learn that Obi-Wan had a brother, and that he
Hmm.
remembers his parents, which is huge. And but beyond just like I wasn't even thinking about, oh my gosh, like who's Obi-Wan's brother. I that didn't even cross my mind. I was just emotional at the idea of like these kids taken away from their families when they're like, I don't
Hmm.
know, 3, 4,
Yeah, we're not.
6. I don't know
Yeah,
how old they are. We're not
yeah,
sure.
exactly. We're not supposed to think about the brother. He found that brother in Anakin, and that's what makes everything so tragic, leading into the next episode and you know everything else in Star Wars.
Right. And so, going from that, we talked about the Vader fight. We talked about
Hmm.
the Freck ship. That's covered pretty much everything but the path, which we can talk about later in our
Interesting.
expectations for the rest of the series. But thinking about Jedi being taken from their homes, like Riva clearly has some sort of trauma from being either she remembers her family and she was taken from them, or
Hmm.
she had some other childhood trauma besides Order 66 that to me it seems like that. She just has this line when she's interrogating Leia about how she had a droid when she was young and how it was taken from her like everyone else,
Hmm.
and like she can't trust anybody. To me that doesn't seem like the Jedi were cruel to her. That seems like
Exactly. I
something in her former life was
Yeah.
taken whenever she became a Jedi. That's what it seems
Yeah.
like to me.
Um. Yeah. She was, all kids are young when they're taken by the Jedi, and they're very impressionable. My takeaway from that is it's pure speculation. Don't know anything about the plot, of course. I believe that Reva was in Order 66, and she was captured. And being that young and impressionable, of course, the dark side, the Sith, conditioned her, told her all these bad things about the Jedi that weren't true. She wasn't old enough to really understand everything. Kind of, what indoctrination does to kids now and throughout history. You saw it as what were they called, the Nazi youth, whatever. Like, not to get too political with everything, but they're clearly conditioned to believe one thing and one thing only. And they're
Right.
kids. They're upbringing through that, and we probably will see that with Reva. She's brought up in the Jedi Order. That's all she knows, and then when she gets captured, her whole world flips up on her head. It's completely different. She gets conditioned by the Inquisitors, which I'm not too familiar with the beginning of the Inquisitors. I don't know whenever they first started. I don't know if they started whenever Reva was a kid or if they. I don't know what year they began, but I assume it was pretty early on. If the Grand Inquisitor was a Jedi Temple Guard, he probably just transitioned real quick over there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
Well,
believe
you
the Grand
also
Inquisitor really influenced her.
well you remember in episode 1 or no, episode 2 when they're on Dayu, Grand Inquisitor tells her that she's from the gutter, right?
Oh yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
don't that doesn't make a lot of sense if she was just a Padawan, right? Does that mean she escaped Order 66 as a youngling and then went back home or something like that?
Oh, I have an idea. Maybe she, like you said, escaped Order 66, and she went down to like the layers of Coruscant, like 13 to 13,
Yeah.
kind of like how we saw Ahsoka, and the Inquisitors found
Uh-huh.
her there, and they sensed her power, and instead of killing her or imprisoning her like we see in Episode 4, they use her for this new Inquisitorius squad.
Mm, I
Well,
like that.
yeah.
Headcanon. Check it off. That's what happened.
Yeah. Well, yeah. For right now, that's what happened until Episode 5 or 6, we learn her backstory because we are going to learn her backstory. I don't think Reva is a character that will last long. I think she's a
No.
seasoned villain.
No.
She's a minor villain, so I don't think she's going to live throughout the rest of the season. So we'll see
Yeah.
her backstory before her story is cut short at the
I
end.
I think she will be revealed a little bit. Hopefully, this is what I hope. Her character will be deepened in episode 5,
Hmm.
and then Vader kills her in episode 6, or Obi-Wan fights her, or something. Like,
Okay.
there needs to be. I,
Yeah.
I don't see her living past this season if there's a second season. I don't see her living on into vague existence, in the time in between the end of Kenobi and the beginning of Rebels, because
Yeah.
she's not in Rebels 1, and she would be hunting Kenobi the whole time, and it would take away from New Hope whenever he's
Hmm.
kind of no one even knows he's there, right?
Yeah, and I
So
definitely don't see her joining the rebels. So she's dead.
no, which
Yeah.
other people have floated. Is
Hmm.
her turning to the rebellion, but I just can't see that. I
There's no
don't.
way. I believe she can be turned kind of like, Vader and Return of the Jedi, but she's gonna die with her ideals.
Right. And one of the things that I've heard, um, I you want to preserve the rarity of Anakin turning back. You want to
Hmm.
preserve the idea that people can be totally gone into the void of evil and then turn all the way back.
I agree.
That shouldn't be like a normalized thing in Star Wars. To me, it to preserve the importance and unique nature of that moment at the end of Return of the Jedi. I think that you would have to have Anakin be the only one that does that. To me, now obviously you have like a Asajj Ventress, characters like
And Ben,
that turned into kind of
yeah.
like a gray, yeah, Ben Solo, like that were kind of like in the middle. They
Hmm.
but I this would be wholesale like turning back to being in the rebellion whenever she was the one hunting rebels. It just doesn't
Hmm. It
like
doesn't. Yeah.
this isn't Paul of Tarsus here. We're not. I just don't. I don't. I don't think there's really a place for that in this miniseries, let alone like the whole canon. I feel like there needs to be a expand her character and have a quick, concise end to her character because honestly, I understand there's a lot of hate going around that has nothing to do with the character. I'm just not the biggest fan of the way she's been written, and I would just love
Well,
to see her be a seasoned villain, like you said, and that's
yeah,
it.
yeah, it's like us with Boba Fett. We love Boba Fett. Was he written very well in the book of Boba Fett? Not at all. And you can check our reactions to that in our first podcast episode.
Right.
But yeah, I fully agree with you. She's a compelling character. The way she's written is kind of horrendous. Also,
It's not exactly making me thirst for more Reva
exactly,
content.
exactly, and also just to say that's a sick biblical illusion you just gave out. You know?
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So going off of that, why don't we jump into episode 4?
Yeah, I think you want to just walk us through a more detailed, like this is what happened in the episode kind of thing, so that we can kind of get our bearings. I've watched it
Definitely, definitely.
probably 3 times in the last 24 hours, but like
Then hey, we got this.
uh, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, so what we can do is I can start off. I could say like a part of it, and then we can discuss it. We'll just start off at the beginning. Obi-Wan. They arrive on Jabim with Tala and Ned B, and they Obi-Wan is put into a Bacta tank, and we see a really cool comparison to him and Vader. They almost look the same. There was
Right,
one point whenever Obi-Wan, they first switched from Obi-Wan to Darth Vader. I couldn't tell if they switched it because of how badly Obi-Wan was burned, and then of
right.
course
I was like, oh,
we
his
see his
burns got
face.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah, then we see his face, and then we see they did that pan down from Vader for a reason because they pan down from his shoulder down to his missing hand, and I
Uh
think if they
huh.
didn't do that, it'd be like, oh, that's still Kenobi. That's just showing how close those two are. And like while
Well,
Kenobi is struggling in the Bacta tank, like Darth Vader, he's like angry. You can see him thrashing around. It's just the duality.
yeah, and I couldn't tell if Vader was angry or like pained, like emotionally. It
Hmm.
seemed like they were both struggling with the wounds that the other person had given them, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah, we ain't
Not
talking
just the
lightsaber
physical
here. Yeah,
wounds, but like
emotional wounds.
yeah, the Kenobi struggling with, oh, like Anakin has become something I can't even
Hmm.
fathom. Pure evil, as he'll say in um,
Evil.
New Hope. So he's grappling with that and his bodily injuries as well, and just the horror that he's just faced. And then Vader, I love the pan down to his missing arm
Hmm.
because it's kind of reminding you of like what Kenobi took from him.
Why he's so
And
angry? Yeah.
you see the charred flesh, you see the him thrashing around in pain, and then it pans down, his arm's gone, and then it cuts to Kenobi's hand is still there. It's like Kenobi's still intact, and Vader's not. Kenobi is still capable of restoration, and Vader is not at this point. And I also like how they're carried in on the stretcher. They carry Obi-Wan in, and it looks a lot like how they carried in Vader at the end of Revenge of the Sith when
Oh, that's true.
he
Yeah.
looks like a burned hot dog, and there's they're carrying him into like when he's like he's still alive. And it just reminded me a lot of that. I think that was intentional, but
Yeah, I agree. That scene from Revenge of the Sith always bugged me as they put Darth Vader, or yeah, Darth Vader at that point. They put him on the stretcher, and it's like raining like heavy rain on his like wounded body. I'm like, that's just asking for an infection or something. It's that scene
Yeah.
always made me cringe just a little bit, just seeing how like little the Emperor really cares for him.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not operating from the dark side. It's just sepsis.
That's funny. It's just an internal itch just everywhere on his body.
Yeah.
That's why he's so mad. Yeah, we meet O'Shea Jackson's character finally. People thought that he would be playing Quinlan Voss. I was one of them. You know, it sucked after episode 3. Whenever we got that little Quinlan Easter egg, I
Yeah.
fully in my head thought, oh, he'd be a perfect Quinlan Voss. But
Is it
you know,
Rukin? Rockin? What was
I
his
think it
character's
was
name?
Roken.
Rokin.
Roken.
Okay.
But his wife was force sensitive. It wasn't a Jedi because Jedi weren't allowed to have attachments that we know of. But she was force sensitive, and as we hear from Tala in episode 3, that the Empire is like going after anyone who's force sensitive, not even Jedi. So everyone is at risk if you show signs
Yeah.
of the Force, and that's why in episode 1, Obi-Wan asked Owen, like, is he showing? Like, or Owen says, you just want to know if he's showing or not. And
Right.
now we know why. It's because the Empire doesn't matter if you're Jedi, doesn't matter if you didn't know anything about the Jedi. If you're Force sensitive, you're going to be taken away, and you'll never be seen again. And we probably see where they end up later on in this episode. But yeah, we meet Roken. They're part of the Path. This little, I wouldn't call them rebels yet, but they are against the Empire, helping force sensitive kids and just people. And I'm guessing Haja was part of the Path as well because he sent off
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
little force sensitive kid uh,
It's more of a
off to
underground railroad, and
exactly.
they're the people that are making it run. They're not
Yeah,
like
along the way, those are the gears. But yeah,
yeah.
Roken, he's a big part of this. Since his wife was force sensitive and was killed by the Inquisitors, of course he wants to help Obi-Wan. So they hatch a plan to invade Fortress Inquisitorius, and we get this huge, like, just cannon dump of like what Fortress Inquisitorius is. They say outright that it's on Nur, a moon of Mustafar, and they show like the schematics of the base and how far deep it goes into the ocean. And if you've played
Yeah.
Fallen Order, you know that like the part that juts out of the top is just the spire. It's just the tip of the base. The rest of it, it's like a ginormous compound underneath. It's huge. It's you can't fathom how big it is, and like yeah, it's insane. But
Well, and
at
can I just pause to complain that all of this was done at about 20 seconds,
oh
and
yeah yeah yeah
he Rokin went from "I'll never help you" to "Okay, you have my help" in 55 seconds of screen time,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and they went from saying it's impenetrable to okay, let's do it. We have a way in literally probably 30 seconds, and it
Yeah,
just was a
and
little fast for me.
another complaint is how would they know that Darth Vader is on a shuttle? I'm guessing that they have uh Imperial moles, but I don't know. I
Freck.
don't. Yeah, they have tons of Freks out there. I just don't understand how they knew Darth Vader's whereabouts. If they knew that, then
I
wouldn't they
don't
be a
know.
lot more successful in rescuing force sensitive kids? I don't know,
Yeah,
but that's
they're
just
not.
plot for the
This
reason
isn't
of
the
plot.
rebellion. Like they're just
No,
smugglers. How do they have intel on Vader? That doesn't really make a lot of sense.
exactly,
But
exactly. But we're not
whatever.
gonna
We'll go with it.
dwell on that for so long because there's so much good in the episode. Yeah, we cut back to Leia and Riva about their interrogation scenes. Lola tries to take out Riva, but strategically, Riva doesn't destroy Lola, which I was fully expecting her just to crush Lola, but she's smart. Riva's smart and puts a tracker in Lola that we discover at the end of the episode.
Yep. I was about to say rip to Lola for the second time in this series,
Hmm.
but I was getting ready to hear Leia Lola in her. But you know, pretty smart move. I have a little bit of question as to whether that'll work. Given, aren't they going to just drop off Leia in Alderaan? like, and then Lola's gonna be with Leia, and then they're just gonna track Lola, and it's gonna be like in Alderaan with her parents.
Well, you
So
know, if they were smart, they would they would drop off Leia, but I think
right,
Leia's
but
going to be hitching a ride for the rest of the series
yeah,
for some
yeah,
unknown reason. We might
they're
get a
gonna hang
little
out in
receipts.
Jabim too long, and
Yeah,
the Empire's
or
gonna find them, and
for
yeah,
one weird reason, Bale's going to meet them on Jabim.
right.
We'll find out that later on. We can't really complain about that yet until we can. But we're introduced to this little squad of the Path, and one of them is Wade, who bites the bullet at the end of the episode. We can talk more about that later on. I have my thoughts on that scene. But yeah, it's I don't know. I feel like it should be changed a little bit, but we'll get into that later. We can cut to Tala and Obi-Wan invading the fortress. Obi-Wan invades the fortress just like Cal Kestis does in Jedi Fallen Order, which really begs the question: why isn't security upped in that under in the underwater part of the base? Because Cal comes in the exact same way Obi-Wan does, and
Yeah, I've heard
that
that
happened in the
a
past.
l- I've heard that a lot of the early parts of this episode were based on Jedi Fallen Order. I haven't
Yeah,
played the
it
game, but
felt like the game.
yeah,
It felt just
like
like the game.
the schematics of the building and the way he enters, and the
Hmm.
even the Kenobi cut down scene of the stormtroopers later that we'll get to in
That's
the
true,
dark.
and
Yeah,
yeah, we'll get into more of that as well with the Jedi Fallen Order similarities. But Riva and Leia, Riva tries to invade Leia's mind, but she's strong in the Force. She even asked Riva if it's a staring contest. I had an audible chuckle at that line. It was pretty funny.
yeah. Honestly, my favorite part of the episode. I think I
Yeah,
don't know,
it was really
one of
good.
the top three favorite. Yeah, it just Leia is really strong, and she doesn't get the credit that
Mhm.
she's due a lot of the time because Luke is the main character. But
Oh yeah,
um,
that's true.
I'm loving that this series is kind of building her character
Mm.
pre New Hope.
Yeah, because we see Luke's quest with Obi-Wan in A New Hope, so we get to
Right.
see Leia and Obi-Wan together. Um, one thing that I have a gripe about is if Riva was struggling so hard against Leia, wouldn't she kind of like confirm that Leia is force sensitive because she's so strong and blocking Riva?
I've heard different theories about this that like strong-willed people can resist whether or not they're
Hmm.
force sensitive. And maybe she just eh, I don't know. Everyone has midichlorians, right? That's what Qui-Gon says in Phantom Menace. So
That's true.
everyone is on on a molecular level force sensitive, but like some are stronger than others, and that I
Hmm.
think you can be really strong willed without being like broom boy or whatever, or like one of these one of these kids that are like, as Roken says, making a rock float from here to Coruscant. So um,
Not to get too off track and topic, but don't you know that Broom Boy, he's a playable character in Lego Star Wars? Like you can unlock him.
of course he is.
Yeah,
Of course.
of course I unlocked him.
Yeah, I'm sure you
uh,
did.
I remember going crazy because I finally unlocked what's his name? I sent a picture. I texted him to you. Claude from Rise of Skywalker.
Babu Frick. Oh.
No, oh, I mean, yeah, I Babu as well, but unlocking Claude was like my thing. That slug creature from Rise of Skywalker.
Uh huh.
I was so excited to get him, and now that I had him, I didn't know what to do with him, so I haven't picked him up since. Yeah, going back into the episode, I'm talking about Lego Star Wars. We see Obi-Wan sneak to the facility, and Tala somehow she gets into the main computer part of Fortress Inquisitorius, kind of guiding Obi-Wan through the fortress like a video game. And Obi-Wan encounters this hallway, which he calls a tomb. I have my theories and thoughts on this, but before we get into it, what did you think about the tomb that he discovered?
Man, it
Heavy.
was overwhelmingly cool. I mean, not. I'm sorry. Like I'm not like saying that dead younglings are cool. Don't quote me on that. But just
Okay, Star Wars fans.
it, yeah, it was so interesting to me because it begs the question like, are they keeping them for experiments? Are they trophies? It's
Mm,
like a sick side of the empire that I think is realistic. Like we talked about
yeah.
in our other reaction pod of the first two episodes, Riva cutting off people's hands and like the Inquisitors being ruthless with the townspeople. That is so true to form to what the empire is.
Hmm.
Especially later on after the Imperial Senate is dissolved, which I think happens after this. The
We'll
Inquisitors
probably see
have
that in
like
Andor. Yeah. Sorry.
right. You're right. Yeah. So the Inquisitors have no like morals. I mean,
Hmm.
they're literally they hunt children. Like that's what they do.
Yeah.
Um,
Then they trophy their helmets in their office,
right.
like for
Right.
lack
And
of a
so
better word.
that should have been ominous enough that they really feel the need to keep track of their accomplishments.
Hmm.
And um, oh, it was sickening, but it was also like wow, like I was just stunned by the choices that the writers made, and I thought it was
Hmm.
great storytelling. Like having Obi-Wan be terrified, looking at
Hmm.
them, and like he's not scared like I gotta get out of here. I'm scared of dead people, but he's scared like I know some of these people. Like you see him walk
Yeah, I
past who we think is
was.
Sinube, right? And he's
Yes, I
like
will, man. I want
his
to talk
eyes
about
are
that so
so
bad.
big. He's
Yeah,
terrified. So
and I'm
I
so glad
love
you
the
caught
scene.
that.
I love the scene. I think it's my favorite. And I mean, honestly, the Vader fight outdoes this scene just because of the pure like, holy crap, that's Darth Vader. But
Hmm.
the hallway tomb scene in this episode was the most jaw dropping to me.
It was the bell of the ball.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
talk about Sinube real quick.
yeah, I'm so glad that you caught on that it was Sinube. I honestly did not catch on until I watched a review of the episode where they were
No,
like, and
same.
then
Yeah,
we
I'm
passed
not that good.
this body. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not that good either. We passed this body. It looks like Terra Sinube. I was like, no, it doesn't. And then I looked at it more and I was like, oh my god, it's Terra Sinube. Man, that kind of hurts my heart. I kind of wish he passed away peacefully before
of
Order
old
66
age.
happened.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, just,
yeah,
hours before Order 66, just of old age. The Clone Wars stressing him out, just gonna, peacefully in his bed. But no, we see him encased in this amber fluid stuff, which reminds me of Jurassic Park, how they
yeah.
found the mosquito, which leads me into my big theory. So this is going to be a mouthful. I'm sorry in advance if this gets kind of QAnon, but
Oh boy.
it's it's a big theory that I've been keeping track in my head ever since Mandalorian season 1. So it
Oh
goes back,
no.
but
How long
let's
is
start.
this? Over under 5.5 pages. How long is this?
It's two. It's two. It's not
Oh,
crazy.
that's not bad.
It's
Okay,
not
go ahead,
crazy.
Hunter.
But my
Go.
writing is
Good.
very small. So we start the timeline with the Bad Batch. Uh, you haven't seen the season finale of the Bad Batch, correct?
I have not, but you go ahead, do whatever you got to do, because
Okay. Yeah.
I'm gripped.
Cover your ears if you want to. So after the final episode of the Bad Batch, we see our team escaping Camino as Imperial bombardment destroys uh, It's not tapioca. That's a type of food. Tapoca City. There we go. Damn. We see the Empire destroy Tapoca City, and they escape. And if a cloning facility is destroyed, we can't really have it anywhere else. So we see in the post credits of the Bad Batch season 1, we see Mount Tantus. Mount Tantus doesn't have a lot established in canon, but in Legends it's huge. So in the Bad Batch, we see the I it was one of the Kaminoan cloners. We see them at Mount Tantus. And Mount Tantus in Legends is a facility built inside of a mountain. And it's Palpatine's personal cloning storehouse where he created Luke Skywalker with two U's, and he basically cloned the severed hand of Luke Skywalker and made a force sensitive clone in Luke Skywalker. So them introducing Mount Tantus so early on in the timeline, because Bad Batch takes place not even a year after Episode 3. So this is a good 10 years before Obi-Wan. They're setting up that they're going to try to clone force sensitive beings. Jumping into Kenobi, as we've seen in this past episode, he finds the tomb, and I don't think it's a tomb. I don't think they're dead. I think these people are encased in this amber fluid for a reason because we see in Rebels, Luminara, they use her body as like a
Oh,
beacon
yeah,
for
that's terrible.
Jedi. Yeah,
Yeah, that
but
was.
if they were gonna do the same thing, wouldn't they kind of look like Luminara does whenever she goes back into her dead body? Here, like their faces would be sunken in, and
Yeah.
if they were trophies, they would be in a more public access place because Obi-Wan had to get clearance to get through these doors. So I don't think they're
Mm,
trophies. I think they're in stasis. I think these are force sensitive beings in stasis that are taken out periodically and having their blood taken from them and put back into stasis to clone. I don't know, just for ancient Sith arts, of like cloning, as we see Emperor Palpatine, because he's alive during this period in Kenobi, so he's probably obsessed with Sith alchemy, with everything. So they have a storehouse of force sensitive beings to pick off of. So yeah, that's
that's
where
dark, man.
yeah it is. It's their own little farm in Fortress Inquisitorius. Then we jump to the Mandalorian. Mandalorian takes place a total of what, like 15 years after Obi-Wan Kenobi. We see Dr. Pershing. He has the Kaminoan logo on his arm, so it's going to be
Right.
about cloning. They want to take blood from Grogu. Of course, unsuccessful. The Mandalorian, Din Djarin, he comes in and rescues Grogu. Season 2 of The Mandalorian, he breaks into this Imperial facility where he discovers this deformed body in this tube, which kind of looks like Snoke. It's just like a badly deformed body. And then
Yeah, this is with the shock trooper,
yeah,
the shock
yeah.
troopers, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and while they're in this facility, there's a holotape comes on Dr. Pershing, and he says that like the blood they extracted from Grogu, they injected it into test subjects, and they all end up uh, dying very horribly. Their body doesn't react with the high M count, the high midichlorian count um, that Grogu has. So they're testing force sensitive blood into regular people. So of they're trying to make unforce sensitive people force sensitive by using Jedi blood. So that's where we end The Mandalorian. But as you can hear my page flip, we we jump into the sequel trilogy where we have Snoke. So I believe that this tomb, quote unquote, that Kenobi finds directly leads into the creation of Snoke. Because Snoke, as we know in The Rise of Skywalker, was created on Exegol by Sidious and Palpatine through dark side cloning. Um, so that's basically my theory: is that everything that we're finding out about these Jedi taken away from their homes, all this like cloning leads into the sequel trilogy with Snoke, and that opens the possibility for more force sensitive villains in the future, as we see in the trailer for Jedi Survivor and possibly the Bad Batch season 2, uh, Ahsoka possibly, and/or we'll probably see more of this force sensitive harvesting. But yeah, that's my theory. It's just
But
that all of this leads into
what
Snoke.
what would be the motivation for the Empire to create more force sensitive beings though? Aren't they trying to hunt them
I
down? Like why wouldn't you just capture all of the ones that are alive and then train them?
I think Order 66 was a start to a plan. They had to wipe out everybody that was in opposition of the Sith. Now that the Sith are in power, they're harvesting what's left of these force sensitive people to create more of the Sith. You kind of like how the Sith were back in the old ancient days. You know, they were in the thousands. As Darth Bane, Darth Revan. We see the Sith cultists in the sequel trilogy. They want the Sith to return. That's what I think is that they're trying to indoctrinate. Kind of like how it starts with the Inquisitors. They're trying to indoctrinate people into this Sith lifestyle by injecting them with force sensitive blood or cloning them to make clones of Sith, just something like that. Of course, it's just a theory. We don't know, but I think all of this is leading up to something huge. If not Snoke, it might be leading into something bigger that we might see in new Disney Plus shows. We might see it in Skeleton Crew. Who knows? We might get more confirmation of like dark side cloning and
Yeah.
you know, uh, force sensitive blood. But
So
yeah.
so I what jumped to my mind was Project Harvester. Did you
Hmm.
is this where you got a lot of your ideas from or
That's exactly where I got a lot of my ideas from.
okay.
Yeah.
Um
Also, I
and
just so
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. Okay, I'll go ahead.
I'm on the Wikipedia page for the Project Harvester, and um obviously the credits for it are all mostly Rebels and the
Hmm.
Ahsoka book and the Darth Vader comic and the video game, but it does say Obi-Wan Part 2 and Obi-Wan Part 3 as like appearances and an
Hmm.
indirect mention. Um,
So yeah, but in
so
the
I
Mandalorian season one, Doctor Pershing, he's like this child. He's no good to us dead. So I don't think the Jedi are dead. It's that quote unquote tomb, that stasis hallway that Obi-Wan finds. I don't think they're dead. I think they're just encased. We would see I don't know. If they were trophies, they'd be out, front and center in Fortress Inquisitorius. We wouldn't see them
yeah.
hidden away. But
What if
that's my little theory.
what if well, first of all, thank you for putting all that together. That was brilliant. I think I think
Anytime.
Sith alchemy is definitely part of the dark nature and the overarching plan
Hmm.
post Order 66 for Palpatine. I think he wants to make himself immortal. He wants to resurrect the Sith as like an institution, not just like, you know, Palpatine and his
Hmm.
apprentice, right? Um, so I think you hit the nail on the head. Um, yeah, I feel like I had something else to say, but I cannot seem to remember it. Um,
You'll remember it as soon as we stop.
yeah, I'm sure. What do you think that? Oh, this is what I was gonna say. Do you think that the bodies in the amber or whatever they were in uh, were more of an intimidation factor for the people that they were about to interrogate? Because you have to walk through there to
Ooh,
get to the
yeah,
interrogation
true.
chamber, so it could just be like, you
A
know,
double whammy, yeah.
a sick like, "Hey, Leia, you're about to. This is what's about to happen to you," kind of thing. Look what
Yeah,
happened to the other people that
I like
sympathize with the
that.
Jedi.
Yeah, in Jedi Fallen Order, toward the end of the game, Cal's mentor, Seer Junda, she was a Jedi who kind of renounced being a Jedi. And she's taken to that same room that Leia was almost tortured in, but Seer was tortured in that room. So knowing that that hallway leads up to that room, it's a good idea for like a intimidation factors of showing like there's no Jedi to save you. They're all here. There's no one's gonna come running through that door because anybody that would have come running through that door is already here. They're already dead. They're already
Right.
encased. Yeah, I like that idea. But yeah, but like
But
it could also be a double whammy, intimidation factor and also a storehouse for these essentially they're cows about to be milked from like their force sensitiveness or their blood.
what a
Yeah.
way to put it.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's a big Borden house. Yeah, I don't think milked was the right word for that.
No, I don't. It's like a they're drawing blood from them, kind of like a um I don't know. Harvest is the only term that I can think
Mm-hmm.
of, right?
Yeah. Oh, and I thought of something that I you'd appreciate. Whenever Kenobi walks into this room, he's like, "This is no whatever. This is a tomb." It reminds me of Boromir's line in Fellowship when they're in the mines, and they're like, "This is no mine. It's a tomb." Like Kenobi delivers it the same exact way as Boromir does.
Like Sean, what's his name?
Sean Bean,
Sean Bean, yeah.
Scene Bean,
Scene Bean. Oh,
Scene
dude,
Bean,
we're on the same wavelength.
dude, that's crazy.
But Kenobi's like, I love the terror in his voice. This is the
Mm.
tomb. His voice is also like his accent is changing as the episodes go on. It's kind of cracking me
Mm.
up. Uh, but he's definitely conscious of his need to get closer to Alec Guinness than he was in the prequel.
Yeah, by episode 6, we'll have full on Alec Guinness.
Uh-huh.
They're just gonna
He'll be knighted.
CGI.
He'll be knighted
Yeah,
and everything. He'll be Sir Alec Guinness. Yeah.
Sir Ewan McGinnis. But yeah. So we see Kenobi walk through this chamber, and he hears Leia about to be tortured. So he calls Tala, and he's like, "Hey, like I need a distraction." And somehow she gets an audience with Riva. The head Inquisitor. She just gets an audience with her, just being an officer. So while Tala talks with Riva, Kenobi finally ignites his lightsaber, not out of fear, but out of necessity, and slays those two stormtroopers in like glorious fashion, and rescues Leia. And they escape through the fortress. Uh, Unfortunately, their presence is made known by those seeker droids and a purge trooper. Like we finally get to see a purge trooper in action. They in his little squad, they corner him in a hallway, and we see the moves that Kenobi stored in the back of his mind come back to him as he's deflecting blaster bolts. And he's not the man who he used to be. He's kind of rusty, so he deflects one into the window on accident, and the water starts to build up. And a move that we've seen in
The
Jedi Fallen
windows
Order,
the windows that are inexplicably not blaster proof, right?
which yeah, it's
You build an underground fortress and the windows can crack if you spit on them. That makes a lot of sense.
yeah, it's not. Yeah, it just deserves to be like invaded every other week. But uh, Obi-Wan, he stops the pressure of the freaking ocean. He delays it until the squad of stormtroopers are close enough, and he redirects the the cracks toward them, and they immediately drown. The water pressure. I think the water pressure killed them instead of them drowning.
Yeah, I don't know. I
It
mean, it was too quick for them to drown, so it was probably more of like they got
definitely.
smacked in the face with the water. But
Oh
it
yeah.
was very Disney of him to like run, you know,
Yeah.
like outrun on the flood. But
You can't
um,
outrun the ocean, Obi-Wan.
yeah, I still enjoyed it. I
Hmm.
still liked the watching the bodies like when they pan back and they're like
Just floating.
like floating around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but what a powerful force move to like redirect the pressure. And
Yeah, and we see that in Fallen Order whenever Cal fights Vader, and it looks like the same hallway in Fortress Inquisitorius. The glass breaks, and Vader being so strong in the Force, he just instead of redirecting the water, he just straights on like he just stops the water from flowing. And
dang,
Cal and Seer they escape because Vader has to focus on like stopping the pressure of the ocean from destroying the space. So of course, Kenobi's not as strong as that right now, but Vader,
right?
can stop the ocean. Kenobi can just delay it. So we see that juxtaposition right there, and
Well,
we.
one more thing about the hallway scene,
Mhm.
just Kenobi's form, his lightsaber like skills are coming back.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
he's able to deflect almost everything that comes at him, except for that one that hit the window. Like he pretty much sends everything back where it came from and kills, I don't know, probably 30 stormtroopers by himself, um,
Hmm.
and gets a couple of Imperial probe droids, the shot or the purge trooper. He's really on. He's on fire. And the cool thing is to me when he, I think it's before the purge trooper and all of them try to come through.
Hmm.
He kills a couple clones or a couple of stormtroopers, and he does this thing where he draws his lightsaber back and just like does this little move, and it
The
looks
spin. Yeah.
exactly like Clone Wars and Rebels Obi-Wan.
Hmm.
And that to me that was like, yes, like here we go, he's back. And he may not be all the way back. He probably didn't get all of his mojo back, but he's got some of it. And
Hmm.
he looks better.
I
Um
agree. I agree. One thing that I might be the only person in the whole universe to say this, but I think the lightsabers in the show are a little too bright. Do you
yeah,
agree
they're
with me, or are you gonna
so
shut me down? It's fine if you shut me down. It's a
no, I
stupid
they
take.
look different. They just
Yeah,
look
they do.
like they're so well done that they don't look like it doesn't have the
Yeah.
mystique of the prequel lightsabers, especially. I mean,
Hmm.
like New Hope, the lightsabers were literally like you can see the stick
Yeah.
that he's holding. Like you can see Alec Guinness's metal rod that he's holding that has
Whoa.
like stop.
Yeah.
Pause. Um but but I was listening to the I think you and I both watched the Blind Wave reaction, but the review afterwards, the main guy Eric Whiteley, he's like a he's really into the design and the tech behind the lightsabers, and he was
Hmm.
saying that they use shorter props now. They use like 2 foot long blades, and they
Hmm.
because the CGI has gotten so good that they can animate the rest, which affects how their movements are. Because they're like it's like swinging a knife and pretending it's a sword. Like it's different than holding a weighted sword, right?
Oh, I
Um,
see.
but it also affects the brightness of the lightsaber because they're so good at like um making it a part of the frame and making it a 3D part of the frame, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. um Versus like in the prequels, if you like paused it, you could clearly see the lightsaber is just overlaid on top of the frame. They just stuck light on top of
Hmm.
the edit of the shot. um and that it makes the lightsabers in the prequels look like more, you know, they don't
Flimsy.
slowly turn on. They're like instantly on when you click it, or they're like they
Hmm.
wave a certain way, right? And
Yeah.
but now the technology is so good that it's almost too good. It's like it's a
I
it
agree. I
never
agree.
changes. The quality of the light never changes. I agree it's a little bit different than it used to
Yeah.
be.
Especially in
But
episode three, they used of course, the lightsaber lighting to effect in episode three. That was the main purpose
right,
for it. How it
right.
was so bright, you know. Yeah, in episode four, when he's fully under like lights, you can still see the lightsaber glow, and to me, that's a little too much for me.
Yeah, I like the lightsaber glow in the dark kind of deal. Light up
Yeah,
his face, show his terror. In episode
sure.
three, because it's like he hasn't ignited this thing in 10 years. But um, I I am with you that it's a little crazy when Riva is like in the hangar in broad daylight, and the lightsaber is like brighter than everything else.
Yeah,
So,
I know, I
but
know, I
going
know.
ahead past the hallway drowning when Tala, Leia, and Obi-Wan make their escape in the most comically like little
Little
rascals.
rascals. Yeah,
Yes,
that's immediately what
yeah.
I thought of, man.
Stacking the people on top of their
I
shoulders.
So I don't know what the writers were thinking at that point, because, well, as we've seen in BS articles all around, that like the writers for this episode, they um they weren't the biggest fans. You know, they don't know every single canon detail, which is fine. But they added they kept Leia's feet right next to Obi-Wan's, and my only thought why they did that it was it's a large galaxy, there's aliens, but the Empire is xenophobic. You know, they're not going to allow a four-legged creature in the Empire. That's what I think happened because there's no way that any competent writer would write that in. That's just stupid. And to see them walking past the Inquisitors like
Yeah, yeah,
blindly, it's like I understand that was a comedic moment, but it's just a stupid moment. It's not funny anymore because it's like this is a serious show. It's not supposed to be like that. It wasn't a
right.
well thought out scene in my opinion.
No, it wasn't. And like just logistically, not sure it would be possible for Leia and Obi-Wan to walk the same exact pace with their feet that close together and not trip over each
No, and
other.
Leia can't see anything.
Right.
So I just I know I had a weird feeling whenever we saw people in trench coats whenever they first arrived at the base. And I had a thought, and I just had like a Little Rascals thought because every time I see a trench coat, I think of the Little Rascals, and
I
I
just felt like they
could
could have
not
done
believe
something
my
better. I don't
eyes.
know.
Yeah, I could not believe my
Yeah.
eyes when I saw those 4 feet walking out. I just sighed in disappointment. But of course, they get captured by Riva. The whole hangar turns on them, which that's a great. I love that. I'm glad they didn't
Uh,
escape the
I
fortress.
I love most of it except for then you die. That was really
Yeah,
cheesy. Um,
yeah, it was. But what wasn't cheesy was the T-47 airspeeders coming out
yeah.
of the smog, and like I didn't realize how small they were, man. They can maneuver really easily, and they were
Yeah, you think
messing that
about
base up.
what is it in Rebels? It's the Phantom, right? Is the small one,
Yes.
or is the Ghost the small one?
The Phantom is a small one. The Ghost is the main ship.
Yeah. So yeah, you think about we saw the Phantom all those many times in Rebels, but it never really comes across how small it is. Um,
True.
and and then seeing them come in with no signal from Tala, I don't think. Nothing. Hey, this is when you should come in. It's kind of like Deus ex machina. They just arrive at the perfect time to kind of
That's
speed up
true.
the plot. Um, but you know, you got to have some of that. It's Star Wars. You can't linger on like Force Awakens did a really good job of showing how they snuck in to the Death Star planet and all that stuff. But it
Hmm.
took like 30 minutes of the movie of them sneaking around. So like you either have that or like New Hope, where they're sneaking around the whole time, or you have this where it takes them 45 seconds to escape, and it's just kind
Yeah.
of like, okay, that was a little ridiculous. They should have had a different plan. Obi-Wan should have had to fight Riva. Something should have happened there. Um,
Yeah, they're saving off this fight for a later episode, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Why introduce a moment like that in the story and have those, like you said, Deus Ex Machina ships just fly in and save the day? Another gripe I have about that is whenever they're escaping, the pilot Wade he gets shot down, or no, he gets a generator thrown at him, and his ship blows up.
that
And
was kind of funny.
I
Yeah,
could not care less about Wade. I didn't have a single reaction to Wade,
me
and
neither.
the way they were like Wade, no, it's like I don't give a shit, man. Like, I'm sorry
Yeah,
for the language, but like if if okay, so we're dealing with the path, this organization or this thing that smuggles out force sensitives. So why
right.
not make Wade's character force sensitive? That directly connects Kenobi because that's a link to Kenobi's past. And if he saw another force sensitive person dying for the cause, that would just uh uh
Like
plug
who?
in.
Who
Yeah,
was
it
in your
would.
mind?
No, just randomly. Like it doesn't have to be someone that we know. It can just be someone that we know has the Force. They show Obi-Wan they have the Force whenever they're on Jabim, and when they die, that gives Kenobi more reason to fight this fight because he sees another one of
Yeah.
his brothers dying instead of just Wade, going out in a blaze of like unglory. It's so mediocre. I'm like that could have been used for an important character or
Well,
someone with meaning, and it
so
wasn't.
there's to me there's two parts to this. One, I agree. The it gave me flashbacks of Rose in Last Jedi and her sister. Like, I don't care, bro. I
Yeah,
don't
and Paige.
like the whole like no Wade, and we're supposed to like, are we supposed to cry? Like, what are we
Yeah.
doing? I didn't even know his name was Wade.
Yeah, I was
I
like,
I missed that part when I was trying to focus on the Inquisitor fortress like schematics that they had. That's when they introduced themselves. So I was like, I don't care what your names are. Like, you're going to be in this episode
mhm.
for 3 minutes. Um, but on the other hand, the much embattled scene afterwards when they get back to the ship, the T-47 goes up to the main ship. Second to last little scene there at the end of the
Yeah.
show, at the end of the episode. I really liked the somber one of our comrades is dead thing, and I don't
Oh
care that it
yeah.
was Wade, and like, I don't like, who cares about Wade, but seeing, like, to me that's war. Like,
Hmm.
that's the reality of a budding rebellion that's completely outmatched, is
That's
that you
true.
lose your friends and you have to sit there and
Yeah.
swallow. For Sully, I think that was her name, the other pilot.
Hmm.
For her, like, that's the first death that she's seen among this little, like, they don't battle, they don't do stuff like this. So
Yeah.
she's like horrified, and you see Tala kind of give an understanding, like, guess your soldiers now, and give her like a drink. And
Hmm.
her and Obi-Wan have been through it, but no one else has,
Yeah,
as far
we
as
could have
like
had the same
battle.
scene if Wade was force sensitive or
I
someone.
I understand,
Yeah,
but like,
I agree.
I
I
I
agree.
I loved Leia looking like understanding this is really sad, and like, death is supposed to be sad. It's not supposed to be like, one gripe I have about Clone Wars is that you see people die, like clones that they're attached to, or
Yeah.
comrades, and like, it just doesn't even, they don't even speak about it after that episode, right?
Hmm.
So you got to keep it moving, right? When you have 160 episodes to make. But I love the idea that Leia and Obi-Wan are grappling with the stakes of the war, just like
Hmm.
Roken and Sully and all these people that we don't really care about. Everyone is affected by death, even if it's a minor character, right?
I like
So
that. Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I teared up when Leia grabbed Obi-Wan's hand.
Oh, that was a
Um,
huge moment. Yeah.
that made me cry. I was like, man, they are bonded. She trusts him. She feels
Hmm.
so, she's in so much danger, and just how far they've come in 2 episodes from her running away to her grabbing his hand. And man, how must have felt for Obi-Wan to you know,
Finally
this is
get
a
there.
girl that he's dedicated his life to protecting her brother, yeah, but like, her father was his brother, basically. They were,
Hmm.
he was so close with both of her parents, and he gets this like kind of godfather kind of relationship with her,
I was just about to say, like, these are his godchildren, and
right?
he's just looking out for them. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about that scene. I loved your take on it as well. I think that was beautifully put. We don't really see we really don't see how the war affects people in Star Wars. So it's good to see that. I agree. But another good thing to see is an angry Darth Vader, and he
Yes.
had the way he was jaunted into the room. I could see Hayden
Dude,
doing that, just kind of like
with the,
this mad walk down the
yes,
hallway, and he be like, "You were warned," and like force choking
yeah,
Reva all the way up into the ceiling. It's so
and you
good.
could tell the cameraman was like backing away really fast because the camera was all wobbly, and it was like,
Yeah, I'd have been like,
oh,
"Well,
I
shoulda,
loved it
shoulda,
so
shoulda,
much.
shoulda." Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because like it's weird. Vader is one of the only movie villains that really scares me. Not because of like his frame or anything, even though that scares me. It's just that he's so evil, and
Right.
it comes across in different mediums. Like I believe I said this on the podcast before, but a few years ago I was at Disneyland and they had this VR thing in Star Wars where you were a group of rebels infiltrating Vader's castle on Mustafar, and you had to recover this ancient lightsaber from him. And at the end of the experience, Vader comes up to you and you realize that you're just a rebel against this unbeatable machine. And Vader, and this is VR, and you have a gun in your hand. You can shoot him as much as you want, but he's still walking towards you. This 8 foot tall like monster, and that was the most scared I've been in a long time, and it wasn't even real. It just shows how scary this dude is, how
That
intimidating
sounds
he is.
terrifying.
It
No
was
thanks.
terrifying, and I was right next to my mom, and I was like screaming for her. It was insane. There was
Oh my
a little
gosh.
kid in our group, and he was not having a good time.
Yeah.
It's just, it was terrifying to see that monster coming toward me, and you know, it's just, it's like, man, Luke somehow changed that guy. That just shows a testament to how great Luke Skywalker is. But anyways, he nearly kills Riva, which I believe that he should have maybe taken her hand or something, or taken something from her, because
Like held
even
her
though,
hand? Like,
no, like taking it, like,
oh, gotcha.
yeah, he's not that sentimental. Even
Took
though
me
she
by the
did.
hand, made me your man. Sorry.
Go off.
No.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I think
thought he was
he,
a little too easy on her. I think we're in agreement
yeah,
on that.
yeah, I think his easiness though for her is gonna come back and bite her in the butt, because I don't think the next time she makes a mistake, I don't think he'll be any less forgiving.
What was his line in the original trilogy? Um was it the original trilogy? When someone says like Lord Vader isn't as forgiving as I am or something. Who says that? Is it Tarkin when he's talking to Leia?
Lord Vader. That sounds familiar. It might be. It might be. That does sound familiar though. Yeah, yeah. He's more machine than man. Yeah, he'll lay down the hurt. But yeah, Vader gives Reva one last chance. He even tells her, "I might have underestimated you." So Reva's plan is in full action. We cut back to um, Obi-Wan and Leia on the transport, and we see Lola, her eye turn red. So knowing that, because red is a bad color, um, it's the color of evil. So Lola is now evil or something, and there's a tracker in her. And like
Right.
you said, they'll lead her back to Alderaan, and then boom, that's case closed.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I just kind of
unless
want Leia out of
Alderaan
the
is
way
a,
at this point.
yeah, yeah. Like, don't put her in any more danger than she already's in. It's just, it doesn't make sense for the story.
Right.
But yeah, episode 4 ends there. Do you have any predictions on what episodes 5 and 6 could be? To me, I don't have any, just because I just don't. I know that they're gonna fight one more time, but I don't see where that's gonna happen. I don't know. What about you?
Um well, they're going to fight one more time. We that's pretty much guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
What this I'll give you the best case scenario for me given where we are 4 episodes in. Assuming there's no season 2, because we don't know that yet. We don't. They could hit us with a surprise 2 more episodes coming in July or something. We don't know.
Well, Stranger
But
Things, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, what I think should happen is episode 5 should open with them just dropping off Leia. Let's get Leia. Let's get rid of Leia. Or they go to Jabim, right? They go to Jabim, and about the
Mm-hmm.
first 10 minutes of the episode is Bail comes and gets Leia. They have to flee Jabim because their empire is coming. But honestly, like Rokim was like, it all runs out of here. I can't just leave. There's like 10 computers. Like, yeah, you can just leave. It didn't seem that complex. Um, and just make a new base somewhere else. Maybe Dantooine. Maybe this is when they set up in Dantooine and the rebellion
Oh,
starts.
true,
I don't
true,
know.
true.
Um, but um, anyways, they got to get out of Jabim, get rid of Leia, and just start fresh for the last episode and a half, episode and 3/4. And
Mm-hmm.
I need a good Qui Gon commune with Obi Wan.
Oh, I
to
agree.
get him more in tune with the Force and show him what's coming. Oh no, you're gonna have to meet Vader again, bro. Um, and maybe a little training montage, maybe a little Rocky Four,
Oh, I would
uh,
die. I would kill to see a '80s training montage for
like Obi-Wan just
Obi-Wan
swinging
Kenobi.
sticks and going on runs and all kinds of
We can have
stuff.
a Max Rebo cover playing in the background as he works
Right.
out.
And then maybe he runs into Riva at some point. But what I really want in episode 5 in on the side is the Grand Inquisitor to return.
Oh
I
yeah.
want the Grand Inquisitor to wake up, or to wake up in a mod parlor with his stomach fixed or whatever's going to happen to him, and come back to Vader and kind of be like, "Hey, Riva stabbed me. Like, should we kill her?" And then maybe
hmm
Riva goes on the run, and now Riva's not part of the Inquisitors, and now there's three parties, right? Vader and the Grand Inquisitor hunting Kenobi, and maybe
I
we
like
get more
that.
details about the cloning, but also we have Riva trying to prove herself on the side. And that's a little
hmm
bit more compelling to me than just like, okay, Riva, you are now in charge. You get to lead the hunt. It's just too
I
corny. I
like
don't
that.
like it.
I like that.
So,
I like that. Her two lives are kind of imploding on each other, and
right. And then
she has to make amends before she's
maybe we get
ultimately
more
dies.
character development for her.
Yeah,
We get ultimately leading up to early in episode 6, Vader or the Grand Inquisitor gets his revenge or something, and she dies. And that's the end of Riva, and the last half of the last episode can just be Kenobi versus Vader.
I like
And
that. I
that would
like
be
that.
great.
Everything you said, I kind of want now, but I do want one thing. One thing that I hope we do get is the return of Dexter Jester. I need to see him. There needs to be a reunion in between Dexter and Obi-Wan. We need
Did
that.
he
We need that as
survive Order
fans.
66?
Exactly. I don't think he did. I think he's in that tomb.
He wouldn't fit in that tomb. Um,
I've seen. Oh God, I've seen. I've seen theories that I don't agree with, but it's an idea to put out there nevertheless. That in the final episodes of Kenobi, that there is no reason to return to the fortress. The fortress is already done. It's a done plot point. We don't need to return. But and the reason, a reason that we do is if the people encased in that fluid, if they aren't dead, that somehow they would be released, and they'd be released from the Empire and an uprising on the fortress. And I've seen theories thrown out there that maybe Grogu is encased in one of those things,
mm,
because we see that flashback in the book of Boba Fett. He might have been captured by the Empire, seeing that he's force sensitive. They probably took him. They might have encased him in that tomb. Feeding their blood storages off of like Grogu's blood. And whenever they're freed from that tomb, that maybe Grogu is taken by God knows who, and then the Mandalorian happens. That's just a theory of where Grogu could have been, or why he wasn't in the time between Revenge of the Sith and the Mandalorian. I don't really think that's true. I hope it's not true, because I don't. I think that plot point is done for the show, but we'll see where it goes.
yeah, I feel like if Grogu doesn't show up, I'm fine. I don't really want him
Oh
in this
yeah.
show. I need a break. But I just can't see that happening. I feel like they're needed. Those bodies are needed for Rise of Skywalker. As much as we
hmm
don't love the sequels, I feel like you can't quite retcon them.
No.
Um, so I just whatever keeps all of the canon as intact as possible is fine. I don't need any more theorizing on YouTube
hmm
from people getting losing their minds about how canon is broken and whatever. I want an
Yeah.
awesome Vader Kenobi fight, and
Yeah.
some solution with the Grand Inquisitor, and a Leia to be safe and the canon to
That's
be
true.
upheld so that no
That's
one
true. What I
cries
think
about
is
it.
going on right now is that with the sequel trilogy, Disney built a house on sand. And right now, the powers that be are trying to make a foundation for that house so the sequel trilogy just doesn't crumble. The foundation is the cloning and the backstory and all
Right.
these Jedi and in this fluid.
It's
This is all
it's
backstory that yeah we'll see later on.
it's like what they did for the prequels with Clone Wars, but on steroids. Because there's
True,
a lot. It's this
definitely.
the sequels were so much worse than the prequels, so
Oh yeah,
you have to retcon them and build them up in a different way.
true.
Nice biblical illusion, by the way.
Two in one
Now we're
episode,
even.
man.
Yeah. Um, anyways, yeah, the they have a lot more work to do, I guess, is my point, than Filoni did in Clone Wars. So, um, we'll see. But I really do like the cloning stuff. I really like the cloning storyline. I think that that's dark and twisted and interesting, and Disney can go down a darker path that we simply can't follow, to quote Padme Amidala. But um, yeah, we'll see. I'm interested to see where this goes. And honestly, the cloning stuff, I feel like Mandalorian season 3, we're going to see a lot more of as well. So
Yeah,
I'm okay if Kenobi is just about Kenobi.
yeah. Getting into a small rant here, and then we're gonna have to end the episode because it is getting pretty long. Star Wars Celebration. I have my gripes about it. Overall, it was pretty cool. I feel like we haven't had time to discuss this because since Star Wars Celebration, we had a wedding and you had a honeymoon, and it's just been so busy. But one thing Star Wars Celebration did that I can't forgive them for is that they didn't stream the main panels that everyone was excited about. They didn't stream the opening panel. They didn't stream the Mandalorian panel. They didn't stream a lot of stuff, and it was exclusive for people there at Celebration, which is so Disney of them to do because it's all they want. It feels like they just want money. They don't care about the fans if they did, because not everyone can afford a plane ticket to Anaheim, California, and go see out there. They don't have the time for that, so they're watching from their homes. Everyone's a fan. Being a fan of Star Wars is free, but seeing everything in Celebration, that's not free. It's like right now, I'm thinking about going to London next year for Star Wars Celebration, but that's gonna set me back a few $1,000. So and I realize that not everyone can do that. So why not make all the panels free? But we weren't able to see the Mandalorian trailer, but I did look it up. I saw leaks of it, and Dr. Pershing is in season 3 of the Mandalorian. So like you said, we might see some cloning stuff, and yeah,
We'll
I
see.
am looking forward to it.
I think we're both really really into the long twisted tale that the Mandalorian is telling.
Oh
But we'll have
yeah,
to save that
yeah,
for other podcasts later in the summer and the fall.
can't
But
wait.
yeah, it was great to break down these two amazing episodes. Episode 5 coming Wednesday, and we'll podcast sometime after that. Just get prepped for episode 6, and then we are into the unknown after that. We
Andor, man, we just wait for
Yeah,
Andor.
Andor a couple months later, but
Yeah.
I'm I'm like almost nervous for the end of Kenobi because I don't know what's going to happen. Like I don't
I am too.
it
I am too. I don't want to be disappointed.
I have such big expectations, but
Yeah,
we'll see.
yeah. I think Disney really set the bar high with the Mandalorian, and
Yeah, they
it's
did.
just yeah, they
Then they
did, and
like
it's
then
not
they
working
like
out in their
took the
favor.
bar and broke it with Boba Fett.
Yeah, they buried that bar.
Yeah, now it's like a limbo bar with Kenobi. They're like trying to raise it, but it's like I'm still reeling from Boba. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's
I'm
getting
excited, but
solo treatment right now.
oh, a Boba
And Nina.
Fett? Yeah, I feel like the first 4 episodes of Boba Fett, no one's gonna watch after like they watch it for the first time.
Oh no, I haven't even thought about watching it, and I rewatch every piece of Star Wars media. But yeah, that was episode 3 and 4 breakdown. I'm glad you joined me for this. It was a pleasure as always.
Yep.
Telling you my crazy, like I said earlier, crazy QAnon esque theories. of
Not too crazy. They
yeah.
seem like they have a lot of basis in canon, and you know your stuff. So I would not be surprised
We'll see.
if some of that came true. So
Well, I'm good. I'm glad that I didn't go all freck out there, all out there with my theories. But yeah, appreciate you coming on the pod, talking everything like you do.
yes,
And like you
sir.
said, we'll be back next Thursday or whenever we can record the podcast for episode 5. Look out for a little smaller breakdown video for episode 4 coming later this week from me. But that
On our
was,
YouTube channel. You made a great
yeah.
one for episode 3, so everyone go check that out. It's about 6-7 minutes long. Um, yeah, Hunter did a great job while I was busy on the beach honeymooning. So
Well,
holding
I
down the fort.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. I love making the videos. I love just diving into Star Wars content, kind of escaping reality for a little bit. But yeah, that'll do it for another episode of the Kessel Rundown podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and listen to us on your favorite podcasting apps. I've been Hunter, and that's been Ethan. May the Force be with you, and have a very good day. See you next time, guys.
See ya.